I'm Michael Guckes with Gartner Business Intelligence. Today we're going to talk about rate of change. And the reason why we're going to do that is because so much of the work that Gartner does involves rates of change and understanding how we need to be thinking about them. So today, to have a little fun with the topic, we're going to talk about it using baseball as an analogy. So here we go. We're going to start this with my template here. In the upper half, we're going to show stadium attendance. And beneath that, we're going to show turnstile activity. Going across my tablet here, we have time. This might be, say, an hour before game time. The guys who are coming an hour before game time, they're the hardcore fans, the diehards. There aren't going to be necessarily a lot of them. The number of guys that we're going to represent there going through the turnstile is going to be fairly low. Maybe a few guys every few minutes. When you think about turnstile activity, on the positive side here, they're going to be slightly positive. So we're going to draw a little bit of a line going up here. And then looking at stadium attendance, the stadium's going to be barely filled up. So it's going to be pretty low. It's going to be down here. As we get closer to that first pitch time, which we'll just put right here, the stadium's going to start to fill up a lot faster. And so the turnstile activity is going to be very fast as everyone's trying to get in right before a first pitch. And so you're going to get this curve at a very high rate leading up to that first pitch. And at the same time, your stadium attendance is going to shoot up. And of course, every Reds game is always packed. So we're going to get really close to maximum capacities. I don't know what the stadium can hold, but since this town loves baseball, let's just say it's 100,000. Okay, so then we have first pitch. We have guys who are now coming in late. You're going to still have guys entering the stadium, but it's going to be at a much slower rate than what we were just experiencing before first pitch. And so now going back to your turnstile activity, your rate of change is going to look like this. Okay? And let's say that that kind of activity occurs through, say, the second inning. By that point, you've now hit maximum capacity in the stadium. So that line up top where we have stadium attendance is going to max out. All right, so now, third through sixth innings, we are at maximum capacity in the stadium and there's no one leaving or entering the stadium. And so your rate of change represented by your turnstile activity is going to be 0. The maximum capacity is going to stay at that 100,000 number that I just made up. Now, if we imagine we're getting close to the seventh inning, the visiting team's down by like 15 or so. And so they're just going to start leaving, right? And so you're going to see this rate of change, which was flat through the third through the seventh innings, and those losing visiting members are going to start to leave the stadium, right? So now we have people leaving the stadium, so your turnstile activity turns negative. Also, your stadium attendance is no longer at maximum capacity, so we start to lose some of that maximum capacity. So both of these things are heading down. You get to the ninth inning, people are ready to go home. It's a hot day, so you have the highest number of people exiting the stadium right at the end of the ninth inning. The stadium really starts to empty out, so we'll draw that line like this. You have a lot of activity, a lot of people leaving, and who's left are, of course, the diehard Reds fans who showed up early, and now they want to get autographs, they want to get another hot dog, whatever it should be. That's where the rate of people heading out slows down, and so that heading out turnstile activity, it gets much closer to 0 again until you get to the point where there's no one left in the stadium and there's no one left exiting the stadium, right? There's 0 rate of change, there's 0 turnstile activity, and there's no one left in the stadium. So when we think about how business thinks about rates of change and the industries that suppliers serve, we need to realize that oftentimes suppliers are looking at the wrong points in time to make changes and to manage their inventory. Let's think of ourselves as a hot dog vendor here. The hot dog vendor, if they know all of these things that we've just talked about, can ask themselves, well, when is the best time to have my box of hot dogs full? And when is the best time for me to be out there selling them? The best time to be fully stocked with hot dogs is when we're at the peaks of the turnstile activity. The people are coming in, the stadium is approaching maximum capacity. That's the ideal time for them to be selling those hot dogs. There might be another hot dog vendor who's not realizing the importance of being ready at the right time. And maybe they look at it and say, I want to have all of my hot dogs ready to go once the stadium is already at maximum capacity. And so we would think of that as where we're at this 0 change in turnstile activity, where stadium attendance is now at its maximum capacity. If you're that latter hot dog vendor, you've already lost out. The vendor who was the smarter one has already been selling hot dogs while you were getting your inventory ready. Lastly, let's think about this in the world of machine tools and suppliers. We need to realize that these same types of events occur in the business cycle. And what happens is oftentimes suppliers are focusing on when we're crossing the zero line. They're waiting for everything to be as great as it's going to be when that stadium's at maximum capacity. But the problem with that is that it's too late. The cycle times that it takes to build up your inventory, to know what you're going to need in order to sell it, by the time that you have all of those things in order, you're simply coming very late to the game. You need to be focusing not on the maximum capacity of the stadium or the maximum capacity of your industry, and when everyone's already buying, you need to be ready for those events to occur. And that's why the rate of change is so helpful, because when we see a climax of the rate of change curve, you're at an inflection point. That's when your stadium, so to speak, your market, is ramping up and it's going to be ready to buy things at some point near in the future. And that's why at Gartner Business Intelligence, rate of change curves are so important to us, because it helps us to predict accurately when when those consumers are going to be ready to purchase. So with Gartner Business Intelligence, I'm Michael Guckes, Chief Economist. I was glad to bring you this analogy and teach you a little bit about rate of change curves. Thank you.